Hello, everybody. Welcome to Sunday Night Live with me, Jonny Lipsham, at jonnylipshamstudios.co.uk on this 24th day of April 2022. Can you believe we're already getting to the end of April? Good grief, this year is going by so fast. It's crazy. It is quite ridiculous. I hope everybody's doing well. I've been away for a bit. That's why there was no show on Sunday, because normally I have, over the last few years, I've done some kind of Easter show, but this year, well, you know, with COVID and all of that, not really been able to get out and about for at least 2 Easters, so I figured it was about time I did, so that's what we did. Family and myself, we basically went on the road, and I played a gig whilst I was on the road. Well, it wasn't really a gig, it was more of a jam session. And I've not played live in so long that I thought, hey, you know, it's kind of about time I did. So I took my nice Fender 1962 fretless jazz bass with me, and plugged into a Fender bass amp, which was nice. I don't often get to plug into a Fender bass amp, but on this occasion I did, and I had an absolute blast playing some jazz, some soul, some funk. It was great fun. It was a really good time had by everybody. So that was why there was no show on Sunday, because the weekend was just totally, completely taken up with that. So, and the kids had a great time at their grandma and granddad's, and there were Easter egg hunts and all of that. So much chocolate. It's crazy. And somehow I have not put on any extra weight. I don't know how I did it, but that is what has happened. So welcome back, everybody, to Sunday Night Live after a little Easter break. Hope everyone is doing well and has had a good Easter. As I said, I certainly did. So let's see who's here, actually. And first one in the door, as has been pretty regular for the last several months, is Billy Morgan. Billy, I hope you're okay, my friend. Yeah, I hope you're okay. Hang in there. Hang in there. Who else is here? Tori G is here. Tori, hello, my friend. Good to see you. I don't think you have been to too many of my shows, so it's nice that you're here. Thank you. Glad you're here. And Kevin from Kevin's Guitar Stories is here, and Ronald Figura. Carl Jadrusiak is here. Rich Cresswell, my good friend down in the Midlands in England, is here as well. Alps Media, that would be my good friend Louis, who is the sponsor of Sunday Night Live. He is here, which is awesome. Lollipop Guild, my good friend Jana is here. So glad she's here too. She rocks, by the way, everybody. Just in case you weren't aware, she rocks. She's very, very cool. Paul Morgan is here as well. Don Oliver is here. Mike at Music to Motion, who I gave a little bit of a personal shout out because I've not seen him in a wee while. So it's nice to see him back in the show, which is pretty cool. Marcos Gomez over in Brazil is here. Let's see, who else do we have? We have John Hawk as well, and Roger Beckett, and Roger McGraw is here as well. He says, thought I'd drop in. Hello, Robert. Good to see you. I'm glad you're here, mate. Let's see, who else? Just Bob is here as well. He says, doing nice. Tuesday will be 3 weeks since my rotor cuff surgery. Healing nicely. That is great to hear, Bob. I'm glad you're healing up well. Secret Squirrel is here. Who name-checked pretty much everybody. Which is awesome. And I think I've got to the bottom of the list, which is pretty amazing. So, there is, as I say, it's the first week back after Easter. I haven't really had a chance to think about what we should be thinking about tonight. So let's keep this to your questions. If you have Studio One questions, or if you have songwriting questions, arranging questions, composing questions, I'll take those as well. So it doesn't strictly have to be about Studio One, although it would be cool if we can kind of keep it Studio One focused. But yeah, we can certainly talk about all of those kind of things. I do have another announcement to make, and that is on Friday this coming week, tomorrow being Monday, so Friday is going to be the UK and Ireland Studio One meetup. If you are interested in that, then please do get yourself along to that. I will be hosting it, and it should be good. We get quite a few people from not just the UK and Ireland, but we get people from outside as well, and we welcome everybody. So even if you're not in the UK or Ireland, it doesn't matter. You can definitely come along. It's 8 p.m. UK time, which is summertime here now. So it's British summertime, 8 p.m. British summertime. So just for the American folks here, for reference for you, we are 6 hours ahead of Central Daylight. So if you want to come along to that, then just kind of add 6 hours to whatever time that would be. So, or rather, count back 6 hours to figure out what time it will be for you, given that we live on a globe and the Earth is not flat. So yeah, that will be happening on Friday, and we tend to run pretty late because we like to talk a lot. So I think the last one ran for nearly 5 hours, which is pretty crazy. In fact, I think it ran over 5 hours. I think the current record is 6.5 hours, I think. And I think we beat that last month. And I think we went for 7 hours, I think it was. But it was pretty awesome. And it never got boring once. It was highly entertaining and engaging, and lots of you guys had some great things to talk about Studio One. So the meetups are really fantastic. I've been to several different meetups around the world without leaving this nice little cozy studio of mine. So I've been to Australia, I've been to the Israeli one, I've been to the Spanish one once. I went to the Spanish one. And I've been to Jonny Gibe's one in Illinois. He hosts that one. And I would like to get along to the Louisiana one, but that one is kind of a little bit late at night for me. But I would definitely like to get along to it. But yeah, if you've not been to a Studio One meetup before, definitely check them out. Go to personas.com and hit the events menu item at the top of the page. And then you should see a whole list of Studio One meetups, where they are, when they are, and it always tells you what time, your local time it would be. So that's why I was able to go to the Australia one, not because, I had to work it out. It was there. It's just like 10 a.m. for me, which is like 7 p.m. at night in Western Australia. So that was cool to get along to that one. So if you've not been to one, get yourself along to one. Doesn't matter where you are in the world, find one that suits your work-life schedule, balance, whatever you want to call it, and get yourself along. They are fantastic fun, and you get to meet other folks that are using Studio One in some way, shape, or form. All right, so let's see, what do we have? Yeah, we did indeed. I think we hit 7 hours. There we go. 7 hours. Thank you. I knew we'd broken the record. So, if you have gone to or you regularly attend any other Studio One meetups, please do let them know that we broke the record for longest meetup. I'm not intending that we will try and break that record again this Friday. But we'll see. We'll see. It's kind of up to you guys. Whatever you want to do. However long you guys want to hang out. Let's see. Super Squirrel actually has a question here. He says, I'm probably overlooking it somehow, so I'm here to ask, is there any way to make chord track reflect interval numbers instead of names? If not, feature request. Aha! You are thinking either the traditional Roman numerals for chords, or you are thinking Nashville numbers. Either way, it's not doable yet. And the reason why it's not doable, I'm going to show you this. So I need to go screen. The reason why it's not doable is because the chord track is based around this guy here, which is the key center of your song. And so it takes its chord cues, so to speak, from whatever key you have set here. So if you are kind of doing a blues in A, for example, or it might even not be a blues in A, and then you open up the chord track, and then you double click in here. See, the first one is automatically going to be A, and then you double click in here, and then when you double click there, it doesn't give you any options for any letters, any numbers rather. It only gives you what is intervallically related. So so D would be chord 4, E would be chord 5, B would be chord 2, and so on and so forth. So long as you know what your number intervals are, so if you're used to working in either Roman numerals or you're used to working in Nashville numbers, so long as you know that from A, chord 4 is D, because you can count from A upwards, or, you know, the E is chord 5, then you should be okay. You should be absolutely fine. However, if you're working with musicians that don't really relate to a particular key center, they work upon numbers, and you say, hey, this is in the key of B flat, and all the numbers, therefore, 1 is B flat, 5 is F, 4 is E flat, and so on. And they just work from numbers. A lot of great session players, particularly in Nashville, that's the way they relate to chord changes. They don't particularly, you know, think about B flat minor 7, flat 9, sharp 5, or whatever. They don't really think about that. They think, okay, we are in E flat, and this will be chord 5 minor, sharp 5, flat 9, or whatever it is. So that those aren't really supported yet, so I suggest you make a feature request for those. However, you can change the voicings for here, which is great. So you can unselect that, and you can select that, and it's still an A chord, but it's just first inversion. Or you can take away the C sharp and put the C sharp up here, and there you go. You've got second inversion, A major chord. There you go. I just thought that would be something that you could think about. So yeah, I would suggest make a feature request. Would be the answer to that question. But that's a great question, and it would definitely be something that I personally would be voting up. And I've just realized, when you're looking at the screen, you don't see me, and that's because when I'm making tutorial videos, I generally speaking turn the camera off. I know that there are other tutorial creators that don't do that, but you know, they have a camera on. Like I know that Gregor and Joe, for what they do for the Personas channel, they have their cameras on. I most of the time prefer not to have it on, but when I'm doing this show, I like to have it on. So there you go. I hope that helps answer that question. That was a good question, though. What else do we have? Marcos says, does Studio One support Qualcomm CPUs? Don't know. Have you checked out the tech specs for Studio One? If you have not, I recommend you go and do that. I can help you out with that. Excuse me. So the way you can do that is on the Personas website. You can go to products, and then you can go to Studio One, and then you can go to tech specs down here, and then it will tell you. It won't tell you precisely which processors, but as you can see here, Intel Core i3 AMD A10 processor or better. So basically what is stated here is the minimum, But when it says better, it means we recommend you definitely have something better than an i3. My personal recommendation is you have at least an i5, preferably an i7 or an i9. And when it comes to RAM, it says recommended 8 gigabytes or more for minimum. If you're doing just voiceover, let's say you're a voiceover artist, and that's all you do. So it's literally just a music bed and your voice track. Just 2 channels of audio. You can absolutely get away with 4 gigs of RAM. However, if you are doing more elaborate music production and you're using virtual instruments and using a lot more plugins, you definitely need a minimum, I recommend, of at least 8 gigs of RAM. The more the better, to be honest. And the faster the processor, the better. And I would suggest that speed per core is what you're after in a good computer. If you're talking a Windows-based computer. I don't know a whole lot terribly about Macs. I'm getting better at what I know about Macs, but I'm mostly a PC guy. When it comes to PreSonus support, which is where I work for most of my time, there are guys on that team who are Mac specialists. I am not one of those. Although I do stuff with Mac, I have to support Mac, but I'm not a Mac expert. I'm a Windows system expert. I know my way around a Windows system pretty well. But yeah, I would suggest speed per core is what you're looking for in a processor, and then you want DDR4, at least 8 gigs of RAM, but more is always good, is what I would suggest. Rich has some good answers, though. He says Qualcomm would be for mobile devices generally, so a short roundabout answer would be no. Yes, that's good to know. Yes, the Qualcomm, actually, now that you've mentioned it, Rich, that does spring to mind that I've only ever seen Qualcomm processors in the context of tablets and mobile phones. So no would be the answer. Roger Beckett says, does the Nashville numbering system work in the lead sheet? Oh, you mean in the score editor? No. No Nashville numbering system at all at the moment in Studio One. Or in Notion, for that matter. However, in Notion, what you can do is you can enter text boxes instead of entering chord changes. And in your text boxes, you can have, you can use the Nashville numbering. You can just type it in. However, you will not get playback from Notion of those chords. If that's what you're looking for. But if you're just looking for literally sheet music that you can print and give to a musician, a real musician to play, and you're not worried about playback from Notion, then definitely Notion would be the way to go. And you can put in your Nashville numbering system there. Text boxes are not yet supported in the score editor. But I think the Nashville numbering system and Roman numerals is something that would be an excellent feature request, and one that would get my complete 100% support for sure. And I would even campaign for it personally as well, because I think it's important. Does PreSonus have plans for plugins created with SDK? I can't actually tell you about any future plans that PreSonus might have for anything, really, to be honest. Because that would be a violation of my NDA, and I would lose my job, and that would be very bad, because then this channel would have to go away, and the entire world would collapse. Maybe that's slightly melodramatic, but yeah. Let's see. I'm looking for other questions other than that. But yeah, I can't really speak to future developments at all, even if I know about them. But, I'm not going to lie to you guys. If I can answer it, I will answer it. If I don't know the answer, I'm going to say I don't know. But if I'm not allowed to answer it, then I'm just going to say I can't talk about that. Because I'm not the kind of guy that's just going to, fob you off. I'll always tell you guys the truth. Ares 5 supports adjustments with Arc 3. Well, if you want to do any kind of room correction, you can certainly do room correction. And speakers will respond to such things. But yeah, I have not done any room calibration for my speakers at all. In any of my studios. On the back of the Ares 5s, there are some controls that you can use. And on some of the, I think it's the Ares 5, not the Ares 5s, the Ares 8 XTs, I think. They have some more in-depth room controls on the back of the speakers there. So there's definitely more control available in those speakers. But I would say, take a look at the product page for all of our speakers and check out what has what. Because I know that you reached out to me earlier, Marcos, and you're asking about three-way speakers and what we have and what they do. So any questions you've got really about what features or technical specifications of speakers are that we make. Go check out the product pages for all of our speakers, would be my advice. Just Bob says, in the chord track, the blue bar above, can you manually change chords to numbers, i.e. delete A and replace it with 1? Probably not, but we can certainly take a look at that and see if it is actually possible. I doubt it. Okay, here we go. Here is the chord track. Now, can I type something in there? So I could go out and type 1. Let's see, will that do anything? No, it won't. It just zeroes it out. So unfortunately, it does not respond in any way, shape, or form to any numbering system whatsoever. So you've only got letters. But that was a good idea. Ronald says, I have a folder of sound sets on the desktop of my MacBook Pro. Not sure if I already installed these. How can I determine if I installed them? Depends what the sound sets folder is and what it contains. You could open that folder and see what's in it. And quite often, there are many different kind of, I think there's a couple of places where you see a specific sound sets folder in Studio One. So for example, here, if you go to File, the Files tab, and then you click on File here, there's a folder here called Sound Sets. And this is where they should be located, as you can see here. So I've got Thunder Roads, which is a recent add-on for Persona Sphere. There's some older ones like the Voodoo One synth presets. Those are absolutely ancient, but they are hilarious. They're very good fun. So all of those are here. Anything that I've added from Persona Sphere is here as well. So, and you're talking about MPV. So here I've got my MPV Loops Atomic Fuel, MPV Loops Harlem 72, MPV Loops and Kits. This was a free one that came out a while back, and then MPV Mainstreams was another free one that came out a while back. Yeah, this is 2018. So these will be located in this folder, Files, Sound Sets. However, there is another place where you might see a Sound Sets folder, and that's in here, Files, Studio One, Sound Sets. Now, you might see that this folder, like mine, is empty. Look at the path here, D: Songs, Sound Sets. So there's nothing stored in this folder here. But if I go to this path here, this is just labeled as sound sets. Now, if you go to Studio One installation, you can check where things are being saved to. So this is where I have my sound sets saved to on my machine. So users, public, documents, PreSonus, Studio One. That's where all of those are. So anytime I add anything to Studio One from PreSonus Sphere or from anywhere else for that matter, this is where I set them to install. And generally speaking, I set to install from my PreSonus account, but you can, you might be able to change that if you've got, you know, something that you install from a flash drive or something like that. And this is, so basically that's kind of what I do. And I have all my sound sets stored in just one location. And you can also check via Studio One options, and you can go to locations, and you can check where user data is all being saved. So in this case, my songs are all going to d:/songs. But presets and all of that, they all go there. But things like sound sets, they get saved in that other location, which actually is this folder here. They're under files in the browser. Can I delete the desktop folder? You can, but you might find that some songs are maybe referencing that folder as opposed to this folder here. But if you've got duplicates, it's fine. So if everything that's on that desktop folder is also in this folder here, then what's on your desktop folder is just a duplicate. You could probably just get rid. And then, you know, if you find that when you load up a song and you get missing files, missing sound sets, you can just repoint that particular sound set to this location here by selecting it. And it should automatically go, aha, that's where it is. And it will locate everything as you should. And that would solve any missing files errors that you might get. Starlight G recording is here. Hello, long time no see. I'm glad you're here. He says, I've been busy and dealing with carpal tunnel, ow, and shoulder troubles, but it is getting better. I've been recording records in Studio One with Chord Chart and doing videos with iPhone. Awesome. I'm glad you're back. That's great. Welcome. Mike from Peace Valley Audio is here. He says, dinner with my wife's family. Boy, that was fun. Yeah, I know what those kind of dinners can be like. Don't worry, I know what those are like, for sure. So yeah, Ronald, you may well be able to just delete that folder. And, you know, if everything, as I said, is a duplicate, then you should be fine. If you get missing sound sets error messages popping up when you open a song, then you can just repoint them to this other folder here, and you should be good. So I hope that answers that question. But that's a good one. There's some good ones tonight. This is awesome. Love it. Roger Beckett says, is there an easy way to edit and line up MIDI events without doing each note manually? Quantize doesn't always seem to work. Then there are lots of little notes. Well, what I tend to do with MIDI is I tend to just select. I either do Control A to select everything, and that selects all MIDI events, all notes in the MIDI event. You know, for example, if I was to go and grab an instrument, for example, let's see, what shall we do? Let's do contemporary strings. We'll do big strings, sustain. And then we'll drag that in like that. Now create the instrument. There we go. And then let's say we double click here and we extend this out a couple of bars. And then we double click here. And then let's just, no, wrong button. Let's just draw in a few notes. Just because we can. And let's say I make this one short. And then this one longer, and then this one short, and this one longer. And then we make this one to the end. Okay, so let's just play that just to see what it sounds like. There you go. Sounds a little bit weird, but that's okay. So what you want to do is you want to, now I've drawn those in rather than played those in. But what I can do is I can kind of just select these and I can, let's see, I can humanize these a wee bit. Let's move that way. Let's move that way, just for fun. And then we'll deselect, and as you can see, these are all now a little bit off the grid. I've got a little bit of overlapping. So now let's say what I want to do, what I want to do now is quantize all of these or get these all on the grid. Well, one thing I can do is I can go Control A, and that selects everything, and then press Q. And then everything will now be back on the grid, or at least it should be, which it is. So Control A would do it for you. That would select everything that's in this event. If you've got multiple events, then you can range select all of your events, and then you can do Control A, and that will select every note in all of those events in that range. And that would work. That would definitely work for you. And then press Q. And if you find that some notes have not moved, and they're still a little bit off the grid, then you can go and manually adjust those one or two notes. But Control A should grab everything, hopefully. At least, you know, it has done for me, and I've been using Studio One since 2013, and every time I've needed to quantize MIDI for, you know, any kind of MIDI event, and I've done Control A and Q, it just works. I know that some people have reported that, you know, when they try and press Q, it doesn't quantize everything for some reason. I've never actually experienced that. I've tried very hard to reproduce it, both on the PC and the Mac, and I've still not been able to reproduce it. So, but I am aware that there are a few people that have reported it. So, I don't know if that's what you're experiencing or not, but that's a good question. Let's see, 29 watching. That's awesome. Yeah, so if the 29 of you that are watching right now, if you are enjoying this and you like the content, then please hit the like button. It would really help me out, because at the moment we're kind of about 50%, maybe even slightly under 50% likes to watching ratio. It'd be nice if we could be 100% on both. That'd be great. Hang on one second. All right, let's see. Roger Beckett says, is it possible to play on your keyboard and play left hand and right hands, so with many notes? Yeah, of course I can. I can certainly do that. So let's select this event. Let's get rid of it. And let's get that set up. Let's make sure that's set how I like it, which it is. And I'm just going to boost this tempo up just a little bit. And I'm actually going to put this in score edit mode. And I'm going to apply, let's see, keyboard. I'm going to make this into a grand staff. We're in the key of A. Do I want to be in the key of A? No, I don't. I'm going to put this back. I'm going to put this in the key of G. There we go. And I'm going to keep that open. Hey, Bobby Booth is here. Yeah, let's play some nice chords here. Let's see. There we go. And actually, the the metronome did not carry on. For some reason, it was only in the wrong mode, so it didn't carry on going. Which is why some of these note values are all a little bit odd. But as you can see, it is entirely possible to play lots of notes on my keyboard and have chords appear. But one thing that isn't going to happen is the chord track is not going to detect what my chords are. What you will find is if I go let's go back over to note view over here, you'll see the chord symbols appear here. See where it says input chord? It shows the chord, roughly the chord that I'm playing. Because there are so many different spellings and enharmonic possibilities and nomenclature possibilities for different chord names, it doesn't always get it, I'm not going to say right, because it does. It detects the notes that you're playing and go, it could be this chord, or it could be that chord, you know. Because, you know, when I play, for example, let's say, an E flat minor 9 chord, see it says there D sharp minor 9, that's because we're in a sharp key. But potentially that could be F sharp major as well. It just kind of depends upon context, so what you might see might be different. But it doesn't necessarily mean it's wrong. It's just suggesting one possibility that chord could be named as. But there you go. I hope that helps. Good question, though. Let's see. What else do we have? Apart from Bobby Booth is in the house, which is awesome. Old School Funk and Soul says, I also found Q for quantize not working. It's working beautifully for me. Has done for years, even through successive updates from Studio One. When did I start with Studio One? What version was it? Studio One 2... what was it? 2.6, I think it was, that I started with, and now we're on 5.5, and I've just never ever had any issues with it at all. But I know that there are people who have, and I don't know why that is. I can't figure it out. For sound design, how are the possibilities for Studio One? Wow, excuse me. Sound design for Studio One is great. You can do all sorts of weird and wonderful things that you might want to do. Because, you know, there is such thing as the multi-instrument, which means you can layer different instruments together and create different weird and wacky and wonderful sounds for whatever you might need. For a particular thing that you're doing sound design for. So yeah, works pretty good. Yeah. Some other questions here. Yeah, Marcos, I can't answer your other question. Let's see, what else do we have? But the other person I'm really glad to see who is here is Billy Morgan. I'm glad you're here. I hope you are doing well, my friend, and you said you're all right, which is good to hear. So, welcome. Glad you're here. Ronald Figura has been eating pizza. I hope your pizza was delicious, my friend. Hope it was good. I love pizza. Ronald says, my MacBook is PROM. I'm not sure what that means. Besides backing up, any other insights? I don't know anything about MacBooks particularly. But if you're having problems with it and it's maybe a little on the elderly side, or you're starting to get, if you're getting blue screens of death, for example, or whatever the Mac equivalent is, then that tends to be indicative that you've got some kind of hardware problem. It could be RAM that's causing the problem. It could be your graphics card, potentially. But just recently, actually, one of the things that I did see with somebody who had a blue screen of death was it was actually their interface that was the problem. Their interface was just crashing, not the ASIO driver for the interface, but the actual interface itself was just shutting off. And when that happened, it froze up Studio One. Studio One would completely lock up altogether, and then the blue screen of death would happen. And it turned out that it was this guy's particular interface that was the problem. And when he swapped it out for another interface, he went and borrowed one from a friend, and he connected that interface in, and he had no trouble. The problem was gone. No more blue screens of death, no more freezing up of Studio One. And it turned out it was therefore obviously this other interface that he had been using, which was actually a little bit on the old side. So he has since gone and bought a Studio 1824C, and everything is working perfectly for him. So if you're having issues with your computer, look at maybe unplug all of your peripherals apart from your keyboard and your mouse, and then start functionally testing, gradually adding items back in, and see if there's any peripheral that's causing the problem. And if you find that all of your peripherals are fine and they're working well, then the next thing to check out is RAM issues, or make sure that your graphics card is up to date, stuff like that. But if you are having issues with your computer, definitely back everything up ASAP would be my advice. Get yourself an external drive, get all your songs off that computer, backed up onto an external drive so that you can load them back in when you need to. Protect your work is what I would suggest. But Alps Media has offered very kindly, very generously, which is awesome. He said, let's see if we can fix it. So hopefully you can. Start G Recording says, I added 2 Skyhawk hard drives on my computer. I have 10 more terabytes. Good grief. 10 more terabytes of storage, and I use my iPhone 7 to film my videos of my records and use Studio One to make videos. That's fantastic. 10 terabytes. Wow. That's awesome. I'm going to get this right one day. Paprita Music says, is there a central location for .soundx files? I seem to have dozens of them scattered in my songs folder. Perhaps I don't fully understand what they are and what they do. I'm not quite sure what the soundx files are that you're referring to be really honest. Yeah, I'm not entirely sure what those are, to be really honest. Billy says, anyone zooming tonight? That's a great question. That would be down to Mike at Music to Motion. Mike, if you're up for doing a Zoom, by all means, drop the Zoom link in the chat. That would be very, very cool. Roger Beckett says, why are some menu items in different places on S1, on the Mac, and on Windows? That is a great question. And it is to do, by and largely, with how the two different operating systems work. Because what you find on the PC, when you're in Studio One, Studio One is over here next to File. Basically, if you shifty everything along here and take the Studio One menu and put it over here, that's where Studio One is. Now, you will find on a Mac, most programs have that kind of menu on a Mac. So you'll have the same for Notion. The program main architecture is in a Studio One menu or a Notion menu, or if you're using something like, I don't know, I'm trying to think of another program that would use it. like QuickTime or something. There's probably a QuickTime menu or something like that there. It's to do with the architecture of the two different operating systems, because Mac is kind of Linux based, whereas Windows is completely a different architecture altogether. So, for example, in Studio One, this is where you get options instead of preferences on a Mac. On a Mac, it has Studio One and then preferences, I think, is about halfway down. Whereas on the PC, it's the last thing in this list here. But yeah, options and preferences, it's different nomenclature for different operating systems. Don't ask me why. It's just the way those two different operating systems have kind of gone in very, very different directions. Having started out kind of relatively similar to each other in terms of being window-based, as in they have Windows. Not that it is Windows. But yeah, it's just different nomenclature, different menu systems for different operating systems. I don't think there's anything terribly more complicated than that. However, I'm with you. You have to get used to one. I mean, because I use the Mac and I use the PC pretty much every single day, I have to kind of have two menu systems in my brain at the same time, so that I know when I'm on the Mac, it's preferences, it's Studio One menu, and it's different on the PC. I just have to have the two kind of in my head the whole time, which is fun because then it stops me from remembering other important things like how many pairs of socks I have left in my sock drawer. And then I get up one day and there's no socks, and then I have to use yesterday's socks until I wash some more. Unix, that's what I meant to say. Unix, not Linux. Thank you. Ember, I appreciate that. Yeah, Unix, not Linux. They sound exactly the same. Unix, Linux. I just got the wrong letters. What else do we have? Marco says, I'm thinking about providing for the future sounds created and sold. All is fine about creating using Studio One and selling. If it's entirely your own work and the sounds you create are your own, then yes. But if you are creating sounds made from other sounds, you will need to reference those other sounds that you have used in the creation of your sound library, whatever that is. And you'll have to get copyright and permissions and all of that sorted out. But yeah, that's how that will work for you. Paparita says, the SoundX files I have seem to have been created with some of the Impact XT kits I have built. Ah, right, okay. That's interesting to know. I'll have to do a little bit more kind of looking into that and see what I can find out. But yes, if you're finding that they are related to kits that you have made with Impact, then that's probably just like some kind of condensed file type for each kit that you've made, something like that. SoundX file is exported preset that can be created with Impact XT or Sample 1. There you go, Mike with the answer. You can share these with other users if you so choose, if they are all over your system. There you go. Brilliant answer there from Mike at Peace Valley Audio. He knows something I don't, which is awesome. I have learned something too. Roger Becker says, I kind of found out the hard way, trying to help someone on a Mac, and was wondering why they couldn't see what I was on Windows. Yeah, it's just two different operating systems. And yes, it is a little bit annoying. I mean, the other thing to bear in mind, which I think is a little bit weird, is downloading and installing Studio One for the very first time and activating on Studio One for the very first time on a Windows PC is really, really straightforward. On a Mac, you have to take the mounted disk, the DMG, and drag that to the little folder for applications, and then you can go through the whole process. It's just kind of like an added step that I don't really understand why it's there, but it is. It is just what it is. I have to get used to it. Let's see. Just Bob says, just wanted to thank you for all of your time and effort you put in to do these shows on Sundays and Wednesdays. You're welcome. I love doing these shows. I love doing Sunday Night Live, and I love doing Songwriting Simplified. They are two of my favorite nights of the entire week. I really look forward to these with a great deal of anticipation. And for Songwriting Simplified, I've got some plans for a whole bunch of topics that I think you guys are going to find really helpful over the next several weeks. I need to run those past Jonny, basically just to take some of the load off of him having to think of things, because he is a very busy guy at the moment. So I've got a whole bunch of subjects that I just want to put out there to you guys over the next maybe 5 or 6 Wednesdays, which I hope that you're all going to find really, really useful for composing, for songwriting, for arranging, those kind of in particular. So the next several weeks should be really, really good. So if composing, songwriting, and arranging are your things that you really like doing in Studio One, get over to the Home Studio Trainer YouTube channel on Wednesdays at 6 p.m. Central. Sometimes I host it here on my channel for a variety of reasons. I've had to do that in the past. So, but for the most part, it's hosted by Jonny Guibe over on the Home Studio Trainer YouTube channel, and it's always 6 p.m. Central Time on a Wednesday. So if that's what you're into, then get yourself over there, and it's always a lot of fun. We have a good chat, we have good banter, and sometimes we end up wiping away tears of laughter sometimes. So it can be pretty entertaining. Thank you, Mike at Peace Valley Audio, for the advice. I appreciate that. Let's see. And Music to Motion. Mike has posted the Zoom link for those that missed it. Awesome. I'm going to grab that, and I'm going to copy that link address right there. Starlight G Recording says, on the Mac computer, the file location is different place, and the internet icon is in a different place too, and I have to ask Louis Deturi some things about Mac and PC. Yeah, Mac and PC, they are so incredibly different, and you either love one and hate the other, or you're kind of like me. I'm kind of ambivalent. For me, they're just two different tools to get a job done. So there are things that I find very useful on the Mac, and there are equally things that, having been a PC guy since PCs became PC, you know, I am very, 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 very familiar with Windows architecture and all of that. Not quite so on the Mac. I've only been using the Mac for a couple of years, but I really enjoy it. It's actually, it's quite a breath of fresh air sometimes to go and try doing something in the Mac. And then kind of trying to do the same thing in Windows and kind of seeing how easy or not it might be. But ultimately, my personal opinion, after 2 years of using a Mac, which is just out of shot, I'm pointing to it and it's out of shot, you guys can't see it. I'm kind of ambivalent. I think Macs are really, really useful. They're good. They're pretty solid, pretty reliable, and for the most part, pretty much every PC I've ever owned has been just as solid and just as reliable, and I can get things done. So at the end of the day, all of these things for me are just tools to get a job done. And I think by and largely, as musicians, as artists, as creative individuals, if we're not careful, we can get hung up on tools. And I'm not talking about Pro Tools when I say that. But We can get hung up on tools that we use to get the job done. And we can be like, well, this is the best tool for this job. This is the best tool for this job. And we can get into sometimes quite heated debates over the value of a particular brand of tool. And it's just like, quite often I say to people that I talk to regularly, I say, guys, you guys are arguing about your favorite brand of hammer. It's a hammer. Use it to hammer in nails so you can hang up a picture, or so that you can hammer two pieces of wood together. Just use the thing. Stop arguing over which hammer is the best, which one has the best action, which one is better balanced than the other. Just use the tool, get the job done. But maybe that's me just, getting older and grouchier as I get older, maybe. I don't know. I mean, whatever you guys think. I'm always interested to get you your opinions. So with that all said, and as Rich says, don't be a tool, use one and get the job done. Absolutely. Quite right too. We are extremely fortunate that Studio One doesn't care whether it's a Mac or a PC. Yeah, absolutely. And we're extremely fortunate that the end consumer doesn't care what DAW you use. They don't care what plugins you've used. They just care that the music sounds good and that they enjoy listening to it, and that they might actually buy it, and that they might actually listen to it again and again and again, and then they might actually recommend it to their friends and to their friends' tennis partners and their friends' tennis partners' lovers. And so an audience grows. That's all they're interested in. It's only us on this side of it that argue about this compressor plugin versus this compressor plugin, or this DAW is better than this DAW. Who gives a doo-doo? I don't. I mean, I work for Presonus. I'm therefore obviously going to promote Studio One. But even before I started working for Presonus, I fell in love with Studio One, having spent many, many years, nearly 3 decades, on Cubase. And for me, Studio One has done everything that I've ever wanted and expected from a DAW. But, it's just a tool at the end of the day. Personally, it's the tool I like the most. But I do have Ableton Live on this computer, and, there are things that I like to do in Ableton Live that, it's just one tool versus another tool. I don't see it's a big deal that we can't use more than one tool. But, like I said, personally, I'm always going to promote Presonus products and Studio One and Notion, because I think those are the best tools for the job. But that's just my opinion. Your opinion may vary. And on that note, folks, that is the end of this first show back after Easter. Thank you very much for your great questions, and thank you very much for listening to me rant. I appreciate you guys more than you could possibly imagine. You guys are fantastic. And so I will see you guys on Wednesday over on the Home Studio Trainer channel with Jonny Guy for Songwriting Simplified. And also, I'd love to see you guys at the UK and Ireland Studio One meetup that I spoke about on Friday. Go to presonus.com, hit the events menu item, and you'll find all of the Studio One meetups all around the world that are currently operating, and you'll find a link there to the UK and Ireland meetup, and then you can access it from there. And it will be 8 p.m. British summertime. So if you're in the central daylight time area in the United States, you just count back 6 hours from that. Or if you're in Eastern daylight time, then you will count back 5, and so on and so forth. So until then, folks, good night. God bless. See you on Wednesday. Bye. Damn it, I forgot the outro music.